Hi, my name is kchu, and I am doing homework number 2 of the Configure Design Sprint. So first, talk about the answer you provided to the expert interview. First of all, I'm not an expert, but I'll attempt to answer or provide context to the answers I provided. What the product is currently it helps you. It feels like it helps you get started with Kubernetes in a very easy to use way. And as someone who has only dabbled with Kubernetes, I can say that using GitLab, I was very easily able to deploy something to production doing very little work and having very little understanding before I can actually get started running a cluster on GKE. Problems that you see in the current Kubernetes GitLab integration vision. So I can spend more time on this one. I'm not sure what the current integration vision actually is. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. If you take a look at the category direction page, the first sentence is configuring, managing your Kubernetes clusters can be complex. Yes. It's a time-consuming task. Yes. So as I said, as a beginner, I found that really easy getting started with GitLab. And we aim to provide a simple way for users to configure their clusters within GitLab. Tasks such as scaling, adding, and deleting clusters become simple single-click event. So some of these things are true, especially if you're creating a cluster for the first time. But as you have a cluster up and running, I'm not sure how you do any of these things from within GitLab right now. I'm not sure if it's entirely possible or because my lack of knowledge prevents me from doing so. And so just kind of jumping into my current cluster that I'm looking at. In the details view, you can set the scope and you can set the domain, which is helpful. There's metrics reported from your cluster that shows up in the health tab. You can manage your application associated to your cluster, installing them using Helm Teller, which is really makes it really easy. But perhaps there's some configuration issues, as Victor previously pointed out to me. And lastly, in advanced settings, it's not entirely clear to me what associating a GitLab project does. I'll do that and see what happens. It's not super crisp. And then there's a link to the Google Kubernetes engine. So as someone who is just learning Kubernetes, one of the first things in many beginning courses is they point you to the web UI that ships with Kubernetes, which is helpful if you don't want to use kubectl or a command line to manage everything. There's good or helpful visualizations within the web UI and navigation to help you explore around the cluster. I found it to be very informative and helpful, and you can certainly do things like scale, add, delete clusters within the web UI. It's not a one-click thing because you do have to like provide a configuration or a YAML file in order to do so, but for the most part, it feels not too hard. And I feel like if GitLab wants to be kind of the control plane for Kubernetes, at the very least, we need to surface things you can do with kubectl or the web UI from within GitLab and tie it back to GitLab in some way. All right, moving on. State of technology, what's happening in the field. There seems to be like a plethora of startups all tackling the problem based on the fact that Kubernetes is really complex, and the fact that Kubernetes is getting so popular, it certainly feels like an opportunity, but it's unclear to me if there is becoming a standard way by which people want to interact with Kubernetes. But then again, I'm not an expert, so I don't really have an opinion on what the future state should look like at this time. Companies that inspire you. Can't say I have one at the moment. And I think I will end my recording here because I don't have a competitor I can walk through right now. Cheers.